Hello everyone, welcome to our cast. Today let's talk about the program translate transition. So what's a program transition and why we need to know the program transition? Let's take a look of the details. So first one, we write, before we start, we actually write the source code, our C file or you write your Java file, we call it source code, right? So after we write this code, it's really like a human readable files, right? So if blah, 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 else I try to print something, actually this is more like a human read code. So of course, inside your computers, we use ASCII code value. We use a bits, a bytes, try to represent each character to a number. But still, when your computer read this number, how this computer know this number means I want to print something. So I have a print, this character in a number. Why your computer see this print, this number, the computer know I need to print something. So there's definitely something miss here, right? So actually you are right. So in Java, in C languages, we need compiler. So when we after we like write the source code, we use compiler to compile the code to other format. So actually we do something here. We do a compile. So after compile, it can generate a kind of file. Of course, it's not that easy because there's something we still missing here. But in general, it will give the very like very weird format, like some numbers we call machine code. This machine code, your computer can read the machine code, understand what it want to do, what it actually need to do. So actually, this is the idea of a program transition. Okay, so before we talk about the details of a program transition, let's look at some term. So you have the program source file. The source files, you just try to write the source file like a C file, like a Java file, and of course they are represented in ASCII code character tags, and the human can easily read it, and also human can easily modify it because you know what this means if you are a programmer. So far you're a programmer, you know how to do it. But after you finish this, you definitely need to do some processing. And this processing can generate another different files. It's called executable object file. This executable object files is not readable by human. It's understandable by human, by machine, but readable by human? No, it's not. So this executable object file can be run on your computer, on your machine, but it's hard to read. It's it's really, really hard to read or modify by by the human because it's not language, it's just a whole bunch of numbers. And this number represent what? You might not have any ideas about it. Okay? In this to transit this program source file to SQL object file, we call it program transition. So in C file, the program transition is like this. First of all, we have our source file. Then we have a preprocessor. This preprocessor will generate another source file. Actually, so far it's readable by human, readable by human. Okay. Then we have a compiler. This compiler in C we use GCC is compile the code to assembly code. So right now it generate of another file, go to assembly. So here's another file, this assembly code is readable or not? It's still readable. Okay, so even though we try to use compiler to generate it, we still generate a human readable code. Human readable code. So this assembly code is human readable. However, its content like it's more go to more details. It's go to lower levels. So each line of assembly code can be mapped to one line of your machine code. So you can see if you have like a hundreds lines of your C code, maybe it will be converted to 1,000 lines of this assembly. And at the end, each line of these 1,000 lines in assembly will be converted to 1,000 lines of your object files, your machine code. So actually here it's still readable, but it's much closer to the machine code. Then we do another process. It's called assembler. The assembler will interpret this assembly code, try to generate this object file. This object file is not readable. It's not readable. So its object file, this machine code is not readable, human readable. Okay. So assembly is readable. C code, source code, readable. Machine code is not friendly to human. So machine can understand, but human is hard to read, very, very hard, almost impossible to read by human. Okay, so this is how your combinations systems for your C languages. In Java, you will have similar stuff. You have a Java file, and also we have a compiler. So we have a compilation here. Um, then it will give you a Java bytecode. So the Java bytecode is not machine code, but you will use JVM to run this Java bytecode. So when you use JVM to run Java bytecode, it can interpret this Java bytecode and try to execute it. So that's it's a little bit different to C, but you can also see even for Java source code, it will be converted to a second level, and you use different machine, your Java virtual machine, to interpret these languages. And do you know the Java virtual machine is built in C languages? So if you know how to write the C, you can write your own Java virtual machine. It's so cool, right? Let's look at the example. Okay, so I have a hello .c these files. Actually, I have this hello world file. This hello world file, very simple, just print out the hello world. Okay, so now let's see how I compile this code. If I say gcc hello .c, it will generate an executable file. So we will get the executable file. It's called a.out. Then we can show the hello world. Okay, so this is executable file. Your compiler try to compile your source code hello.c to this executable file is called a.out. Okay, so of course we can give a name of this a.out. We can say gcc dash o hello hello.c. Then we can get the hello this SQL file. So still this is SQL file. If you want to see the object file, how can you do? Just type gcc -c, then you can get another file. It's a object file, and let's open the object file here to see how it look like. Okay, so you can see it's not readable by human. So you can when you open it, it just shows a whole bunch of like a weird stuff there. So you cannot easily tell like, okay, what this means in your file, like in your source code, right? So this is the object file. Okay, so how about assembly? In C, let's assembly code is readable. So if you want to get your assembly code, try to put the -s, capital S, then you can do gcc-s hello.c. Then let's see what's the assembly file we got. Okay, so this is assembly file. You can see the assembly file is more like, it has more details. You have 44 lines for the hello world. For hello world, I only put like 3 lines of the code or 4 lines of code. And here you can see assembly code has 44 lines of code, but it's still readable. For example, this one is for push Q. So push is kind of a keyword, right? Or there's a section, string, text, global, this whole bunch of like English stuff you can readable. It's readable. It's harder than the C languages, but it's still readable. So we will talk about assembly code in other lecture, but here you got the idea. So you have source code. After source code compile, you can it's generate the assembly code. The assembly code after interpretation, it's got the object file. Then there's a linker, link them together to get the SQL file. So for object file, SQL file is not readable. But for assembly file or source code, it's readable. Okay, got the idea here? Good. So this is for today. I hope you enjoyed today's lecture. I hope you understand how our computers actually work. When we write the source code, how can our computer to read this source code we wrote, right? So actually, there's some transition there, translation, and this transition process is really, really interesting. And there's some details. Try to convert a readable, human readable, writable source code to a human non-readable, like a file human cannot read, but the machine can understand the SQL file. Okay, so this is the process of this transition. Hope you enjoyed today's videos. See you next time. So the program transition is interesting.